Hello, everyone, and welcome to another one in our series, Breaking Down Barriers. My name is Chris Igwe, and what I do is I use this book, my book, as the backdrop to the conversations that we have and the points that I share with you. My journey from a small African village to the world stage, Breaking Down Barriers, is my book. I take a chapter, I share a few thoughts and ideas with you, a little bit of a story, and encourage you to explore some of these topics and ideas and see how they fit into your own life. And of course, how to maximize the use of them to grow in whatever avenue, personal, professional, you have. Today's topic is network to success. Network to success. That's the title of the chapter. And I'll be honest, it's one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite activities, if you like, because it embraces my entire life and should embrace your own entire life. And I'm going to break it down into smaller pieces that hopefully you can take away and use, or at least think about and reflect on. So it is said, at least in the personal development and growth industry, that your network is your net worth. And if you imagine net worth, you've heard of high net worth individuals or ultra high net worth individuals. You'd have heard of net worth in terms of the value of somebody's assets, financial, property, whatever it happens to be. And so the combination of having your network, which I'll explain in a minute, to equate to your net worth, it's a fairly simple bridge, as it were. Essentially, the thought is, and perhaps in business, but I'll break it down into a personal situation as well. But in business, when you create this network around you, relationships, if you like, they are constructed or designed to help you grow your business or businesses. None of us can create a business on our own. We need to have others around us, either those who work within our team, in our companies, our departments, whether they're local, national, international, whatever they happen to be. That is one way in which you need to grow your business, but also in a personal way. So if your network is your net worth, then we need to understand how we can leverage that in a way that is positive. So let's start out with a very simple example. So we've moved a lot. My wife and myself and the family, we've moved and lived in different countries, England, Scotland, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and France, and traveled a lot. And one thing that we've had is whenever we move to a new country, or even moving from one location to another in that country, doesn't matter where it is, you have an apartment or you have a house, one of the fundamental things that you need to do, and we learned to do very quickly and very early, is identify those individuals who you consider important to support you in that new life, in that new place. For example, you need to know doctors. Who are the doctors to call on? What specialities might you want to look at? Dentists, electricians, plumbers, car mechanics, whatever it is that you feel one day you are going to need them, you need to have them already available. You don't want to scroll through the internet, not knowing if the recommendation is right or the right people or not. Do they have the skill set? Do they have the knowledge? Are they qualified? All those sort of things. And believe me, we've done the tried and tested route of, we found somebody because they put leaflets through your letterbox and you discover they're not as good as you thought they were, and it costs you more or whatever. Just last week alone, we had a problem with a plumbing issue. Our plumber is actually on holiday. It's France, so we take holidays whenever we can and as long as we can. So we had to then find another plumber, so not the one that we would normally use. And through our own network, within a couple of connections and phone calls, we were able to find a plumber who came and did a great job within a short period of time. The last thing I wanted to do was to go online or phone up the local authority and find out who, the charge out cost, the this, the that, everything mounts up. So how can you minimize those challenges when you have time ahead of you to do so? So that's a simple example of what we need. And that is creating your network. That is creating the contacts of people around you to enable you to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. And in here, I have quotes, and here is one by Diane Heiberg, and she says, networking is an investment in your business. It takes time, and when done correctly, can yield great results for years to come. So networking is an investment, but how do you go about it? Now, let's be clear. Not everybody feels comfortable networking. Some people are very shy. Some people don't like to go up to people to talk. Some people don't like being in uncomfortable situations. But let's take it into a business environment, for example. You have meetings, you have eventually cocktails, you go to conferences, you go to seminars, but also privately you go to evening events, maybe a specific event that you've been invited to, cocktails or champagne and petit four and everything else that you can enjoy, just little, maybe a buffet of some sort, and you're going there with trepidation, saying, I don't know anybody. I'll come to some of the key things that you need to take away to feel comfortable about it, because networking, which I want to get across, is so critically important. If you don't know how to do it, you have to learn how to do it. If you do it already, do it better. It's a continual journey, a continual process. I've been networking for a long time. Those who know me in the industry have, in some cases, and I'm very honored and privileged, have said that I have the best black book in the industry. Because I can walk with CEOs and C-suite individuals in the same way that I can walk and talk with junior people just coming into the industry. I've made it my approach because they are human beings and there is a way in which you should treat each other. It's not because you have a status or position that you should be more important than somebody else coming in. A very simple example as well is, and I'm grateful for it, a long time ago in the industry, I went to a particular company. I had a meeting with them. And there was a young lady who I was introduced to, as with other people around the meeting. The meeting happened, went really well. And then a few years later, I was at a trade show. And I went over to their stand where they are and had a conversation. And I made the point, although I didn't know the impact it would have, of calling out her name and saying hello to her by naming her. 10 years later, they were a client of mine for a short assignment. And we were just one-to-one. And she said to me, you know what? One thing that I'll always remember about you is the fact that you remembered my name at the conference. You met me in the office. You remembered my name. You then saw me at this conference years later. You came up, said hello, and called me by my name. And she was telling me this some 10 years later. She said that I had no idea the impact it had on her, that someone as senior as me and she being a junior should have her name remembered. That is the power of networking. That is the power of human relationships and connections which you create. And that is how you build on those relationships. So sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious. So where am I taking this? Well, here's some of the things that you need to consider in networking. It's not about whether you are a good networker. It's not about whether you're shy or not. Because I can assure you, I was very shy. You may not believe it today, but I was very shy, very timid in my youth. I had to work on that over years, over decades. Now I'm very comfortable, can stand up in crowds of thousands of people as I can in a one-to-one conversation. It takes work. But here's the thing. Networking should not be a big mountain to climb. If you are starting out, let me give you a few tips, a few thoughts for you to bear in mind. I guess the first one is, don't make it such a big deal. Now that may sound easy. You say, well, Chris, you've done this for a long time. You can navigate. Yes, but I started out by being timid, by being shy, and then building one contact, one conversation at a time. Try and connect with the person next to you in an event, a trade show, a conference, whatever it happens to be. Just try and just say, I'm going to have a one-to-one conversation with this person. But the thing is to enjoy it, to have fun, because networking should not be scary. At the same time, it shouldn't be an interrogation. It should be a conversation. It should be you being you, not trying to be someone else, not trying to give this image of you being more important than you are or having a bigger role than you have. You can just as easily talk to a CEO, C-suite person, chairman, founder, doesn't matter, as you can with someone who does not have such a high position. And you do it by being yourself, by being natural. Don't take on more than you need to. And then there are some fundamentals, which is work on your memory, work on your ability to remember names, where you met people. If at the beginning, like I started, I would get, back in the day, it was business cards. I remember going to these conferences, trade shows, giving out my card and taking other people's cards, coming back to my PA. My PA hated it when I went to these conferences. She just said, can you stop taking people's cards? This is way before, obviously, let's say, digital formats that we have today. But it didn't matter. She did it because that's what she was happy to do. But I dumped all these cards on her and she had to look at, but on the back of the cards, I noted down where I met the person, a few key points about that individual, what we might have spoken about. If it's a business opportunity, there needs to be a follow-up. That's a very simple way. So I use business cards, email, obviously. Today we have digital formats. We have social media that you can check people in or find out what they're doing. You have different ways with QR codes, lots of different ways today that you can actually gather information and so on. But the key thing is remember specific things about the individual. As I said before, their name, what their role is, what you spoke about. When you get back to a quiet spot, note it down. Or with your mobile smartphone, note it down. Start to have this automatic reflex of making sure that you remember people, because details matter. But one of the key things is sharing yourself. Now, as I said, it's important that you don't interrogate, but it's equally important that you don't over speak. Let them speak. The power of them communicating to you their story, who they are, what they do, what their business is so powerful. We all like to talk. I would rather hear what people have to say than speak myself. And I know many people over the years have said to me, how come you get so much information out of me? You never say anything about yourself. Well, I do. But your story is way more interesting than mine, is my philosophy and my view and my approach. In this book, I also have resources that I recommend, and one which it's a classic. It's an easy read, and I would highly recommend it to you. It is by Dale Carnegie. It is called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. How to Win Friends and Influence People. It is absolutely brilliant for all ages, all times, and you just see different ways that you can help develop this strategy. So my question to you is, how good a networker are you? How good a networker are you? How do you measure that? Is it by the number of people that you have, who are your followers, who like your posts on social media? Or are they those who you really have a connection with? Because it's like a ripple effect. You start with a small group of people and you can then move out. They develop your connections through your network. So it's not about having 100,000 people. It's about having maybe 10, just to exaggerate so you get the feel, 10 who are really good and close and you know you can call on any time and they can put you in touch with other people. Because again, in the professional development industry, and you might have heard it before, there is what is called 6 degrees of separation. Everybody on the planet, you can get to anybody through 6 people that you know, but they've got to be qualified individuals that you can get to. At different stages in my life, I've been 2 steps away from a major global CEO who, if I named, you would know, or presidents or prime ministers who, if I named, you would know. Have I called upon them? No, because I have nothing to offer them, but it's just proof that I'm not as far as I think I am, and you're not as far as you think you are. So I strongly encourage you to think about networking, to create relationships that are lasting, that are important, and where you can build on them to help you in your future and in your life. So if it's in business, what are the relationships you want to develop and how can you develop those? And there's a whole strategy around that. I've spent my life studying, learning, being involved in the whole process of networking. And today I pride myself as indeed, not just because other people say it, but I believe it myself and I know it, I'm one of the best networkers in the world because I know what to do, what not to do, when to do it, when not to do it, how to do it, how not to do it. It's a lifetime of learning. So I encourage you, as I wrap up, please feel free to like, comment and share. And of course, subscribe to this channel. But I hope that the idea of networking is something you're going to go, I can do it, or I can do it better, or I should do it better. Whatever it happens to be, build your network to build your net worth. Thank you.